On to number 4, my countdown of the top 50 games in my collection. Really like this one. This is Scythe. It is about 3 years old now. Relatively new game. Plays 2 to 5 players, can go up to 7 with an expansion. Actually, you can play solo. There's a deck of cards that will run an opposing force for you. Um, Probably plays best with 4. We played one game with 7, and there was a little bit of downtime between turns. It is a long game. I'd say 2 hours. Probably closer to 3 if you got 6 or 7 players. Difficulty is a 5. This is one of the more complicated games because it's an action selection game. Um, so, and I'm going to kind of go against what I just said. There's only 4 things that you can do each turn. You get to do one, and then you can't do that same action again unless you're one specific faction. And I'll get to that in a second. So really, you're limited to, on your next turn you could have to do one of 3 things, but it's the progression through and thinking, okay, if I do this, then I'm going to want to do this, but to do this I have to do this, and then do this, and then do this. So it's planning your turn, all the while looking at what your opponents are doing. Competitive game. It is an area control dudes on the map game, but there's not a lot of combat in it. There's maybe 1 or 2 battles that you'll have during the turn, during the game, and that's it. It's rare that you have more than 2 or 3. So you win the game by having the most money. You're trying to prove that you are the most successful country. The setting is post World War One in a steampunk-esque universe. So there's giant walking mechs slash tanks that each of the countries have. And each of the countries are represented by I should say, the country boards. So there's like a Russian, I should say a Soviet, and the English and the Japanese are in the expansion. There's Germans and the Polish and the Nordic Kingdom and the Ukraine, and they all play just a little bit different. They're not so different that it's like relearning the game when you're playing them. They just give a little bonus here or there to your and an additional ability. Like the Soviets, the Russians, their special ability is they get to do the same action twice. So let me go over the actions. The 4 actions are: you can bolster your army, which gives you more combat ability, which you have to spend when you get into combat. You can move, so you can move 2 things on the map, and you may unlock the ability to move 3. You can produce, which gets you more resources, and with the resources you unlock things, and you can buy more mechs or put additional structures on the map. All of this goes towards getting you points. There's a tracker on the board that keeps track of your combat value. There's a tracker on the board that keeps track of your popularity throughout the lands, and that's not just amongst your own people, but that's one of the more important things to focus on, because there's a multiplier at the end. If you're really well liked by very popular, then everything that you've done up to that point gives you a higher return on what you've done. You get more money at the end, making you more successful. There are you also have a leader figure that you will move around the board, in addition to the 4 mechs, and there's also wooden meeple workers on the board. So the plastic figures are the ones that fight, and the wooden ones don't. So it's an interesting. I don't know any other game that does that. That has plastic and the wood figures on the board. And I'm probably not going to paint these up just for that reason, because why have a really nice, um, nicely painted figure right next to some of the wooden dudes on the map. So, but it works. It's not. I'm not really saying that is a bad thing. So there are 6 stars. The first player that gets 6 stars out, that will end the game. And to put a star out, you have to win a combat or get your popularity up to 18. Or there's a lot of different ways to do it. You can move your worker around on the board, and there's spots on the board where you're going to have an encounter, and it's like a little mini story. Like this one, it shows a picture. You're supposed to show the picture, and it shows some people going into a bunker. It looks like it says salvage ammo from a secret underground facility. Gain 2 power, which is your combat, and 1 popularity, or bribe the researcher to give you an advanced weapon. Pay $2 to gain 4 power. Or spy on the researcher's secrets after pretending to befriend them. Pay 2 popularity, so you lose popularity, to gain 1 upgrade and any 2 resources. So it gives a little bit of a adventure and decision making option with these exploration cards. There's also secret bonuses that you're working towards that will unlock another star. If you get 2 of these at the start, and if you complete one, you get to complete one of them. And one of the, I think the Polish get to do both of these. That's their special ability. And if you achieve the result, it's like this one says, control at least 3 forest territories at the end of your turn, and you complete your secret objective. So playing on this game is like playing on a work of art. It is, the map is beautiful. The expansion I got, there's actually a board expansion that just adds like 1/3 more onto the board, but the map doesn't change. What they did was they printed the regular map on one side, and they printed the back side of the game board with this 2/3 size map, knowing that if you bought the expansion, the board would be bigger. I built this table partially, did the measurements on it to be sure I could fit this extra large map, which is needed for when you're playing the 7-player game. There's also an airship expansion which adds floating battleships or zeppelins to it, set between after World War I, so it fits. There's also another expansion that's just coming out, or has just come out, that adds a campaign story track to it. So you'll play a game, and it'll unlock something else as you play. So really, really like this. Another interesting thing that adds to the replayability. So you have your country board, but there's also the I don't know how to describe it. Each one of these boards describes how your country acts. So this is the where's the innovative board, and this is the patriotic board, and this is the industrial board, the engineering board. So it gives a little bit different flavor, and the way things unlock and you work through these. It may be easier to get your mechs on the board with one, or easier to upgrade get your buildings on the board with another one. So lot going on, very thinky, but not too much. I mean, there's enough to keep you hooked. Yeah, I think that's about it for Scythe. I wanted to say that for those of you watching the videos, and I apologize, I should have said this at the start, the rest of these are really gamer games. There's not really ones for the kiddos. So thanks if you're just watching to watch for the younger kids, what to get them for Christmas. I'd go back to the earlier part of the countdown. But That's number 4, Scythe. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for number 3 for the kids.